Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of big data. Today my guest is from TwinStrata, and we have the CEO of the company, Nicos Vekiarides. Nicos, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Rich.
Hey, thanks for coming on. You know, Nicos, I understand you guys have an announcement about a cloud array and some kind of backup strategy, so can you tell us more about that?
Sure. We have a major launch that's happening on May 21st, and what we're launching is a new version of CloudArray that has some great manageability features, as well as a new disaster recovery as a service offering.
Well, that sounds good. Well, I've brought your slides up. Why don't we go through that, and then we'll do a Q&A at the end.
Okay, great. So starting with slide 2, I'll give you a quick overview of what the company does. So what TwinStrata does is we make software that works with over 20 different cloud storage providers, but it makes that cloud storage look, feel, and perform like local storage. In fact, it gives you an iSCSI or file-based, a NAS, presentation of the data so that it works plug and play with all of your existing applications. The advantage of CloudArray is that it gives you all of the cost advantage and the administrative advantage of using cloud storage. That is, you never have to touch the storage. You can grow to nearly unlimited capacities. And we also enable organizations to leverage other high-value cloud services like what we're launching today. So looking at slide 3 and giving you the headline of this launch is what we're saying is that we're giving customers freedom from backup software, disaster recovery, and management headaches. And we do that through a lot of new product features that simplify the management, such as our Snapshot Scheduling, our enhanced bandwidth scheduling capability, and ability to set policies for the data volumes that you create on our CloudArray software, and then moving those volumes across different policies as the need change. We present a simpler, more powerful user interface, and we roll out a new feature, which is disaster recovery as a service. That's now included with every license of CloudArray, and it gives you on-demand disaster recovery, not just of your data, but also of your applications. And starting with slide 4, we'll drill down into the features, starting with the Snapshot Scheduler. Now, CloudArray lets you store data as files or data volumes on CloudArray, and you can take snapshots, in fact, unlimited snapshots of your data that can serve as a retention policy for continuous data protection. All of these snapshots are space optimized, and if you use them in place of, for instance, full backups, they can get you about a 20x capacity savings because they are space efficient and they're actually very fast. And what the Snapshot Scheduler does is it gives you a calendar-based interface and lets you create a whole retention policy that lets you create recurring automated snapshots, whether it's hourly, whether it's daily, weekly, and a retention policy of which ones to keep over time. It automates this whole process, and in many cases, it can reduce or eliminate the dependence on backup software that many customers have today. We also introduced another feature that's more powerful bandwidth scheduling. And the idea behind bandwidth scheduling is TwinStrata CloudArray works with 20 different cloud providers, many of which are public cloud and will use your company's corporate network. So what the bandwidth scheduling does is it minimizes the impact on the network, and the scheduler lets you select times of day. So during your peak periods, you can minimize the amount of bandwidth that CloudArray uses, and during your freer times, open windows, you can actually utilize as much of the network as you want. And the controls are very fine-grained, so you can set as little as 15-minute intervals on the type of throttling that you do, and the range is all the way from 0 bandwidth utilization for perhaps your peak periods, all the way to unlimited. But it gives you that type of control so that you never really impact your corporate network. Slide 6 shows yet another one of the features that we're introducing today. One of the unique elements of CloudArray is that it lets you select different policies, and each of the policies has a local cache footprint. So what makes CloudArray access data fast from the cloud is this local cache buffering. And you can have multiple of these policies. So for instance, if you're storing primary data on CloudArray, you'll have a very large cache, and it might be on SSD storage. If you're doing a backups policy, you might have just enough storage to recover your latest copy of backups. If it's for archives, you may have a very small local cache footprint, perhaps as little as 10 gigabytes, and then you can store petabytes of data out in the cloud. Now, one of the requests that came back from customers is that as data ages, they want to be able to change their policy for data volumes that they provision on CloudArray. So, in fact, a lot of data can be highly active today, and then within a period of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, it can be archive quality data that needs to be kept online for compliance purposes and perhaps shouldn't be utilizing the local storage footprint. So what we've done is, you can see on this slide, we can actually move some of these volumes very easily to larger or faster cache if more performance is needed, or to smaller or slower cache if the data becomes archive quality, essentially giving you the ability to non-disruptively load balance volumes across these policies, even shrinking the cache size as needed, and even non-intrusively retiring old cache storage. So if you have external storage that you use for cache, perhaps it has a 3 to 5 year lifetime. Now you can retire it non-disruptively and replace it very easily. So that really makes CloudArray much, much easier to use. On the next slide, slide 7, you can see a lot of the GUI screenshots of the new CloudArray product, where we give you greater access to all of the information that you need, whether it's monitoring the cache, and you can even make actionable decision on the policies that we discussed earlier. We've improved the dashboard, and we've also improved the product performance. One of the headlines that we introduced that we're really launching here today is disaster recovery as a service. And a lot of our customers are using CloudArray to store data in the cloud, whether a public cloud or a private cloud. But what they've also been looking for, particularly in the public cloud use case, is for a way to recover their data if they were to have an entire site outage or even lose a site. They would like to be able to bring up their applications as well as recover their data. And what we're launching today is exactly that. With Cloud DRaaS, customers can bring up their applications without having to worry about tapes, a dedicated disaster recovery site, or dedicated secondary infrastructure. It's all very simple to deploy. CloudArray typically takes 15 minutes to install, and it also enables regulatory compliance, whether it's for HIPAA requirements, where a disaster recovery strategy is required, or other requirements. They can now meet those disaster recovery requirements, but most importantly, with over a 90% savings over traditional disaster recovery. So if you look on slide 9, there are different ways of implementing disaster recovery today. And for many organizations, it's nothing more than offline tape backup. Perhaps you make copies of your data, you back up your data on tapes, and you ship it off-site. What this means is that during a disaster scenario, you really have to reconstruct both the data and applications at your primary site by bringing back the tapes and doing a restore. With online disk-based backup, the process becomes a little bit faster, and a lot of customers use CloudArray just with that as a use case, is being able to back up all of their data online to the cloud. Now, the recovery times could still take on the order of a day or so, because for many customers, getting their business back up and running means not just recovering their data, but recovering their application infrastructure. So a lot of organizations rely on a cold standby site for disaster recovery and business continuity, or a hot standby site. But as you can see, the cost increases exponentially the faster you want to recover your data during disaster. So with a hot standby site, you can recover perhaps in minutes or hours, but the cost is in many cases an order of magnitude more than the cost of of simply storing your data online in the cloud. So in slide 12, one of the biggest costs associated with traditional business continuity and disaster recovery is getting a secondary site, whether it's a hosted site, a co-location facility, or a remote office. Also, that remote site requires dedicated compute and storage infrastructure. So that means not only are you administering the infrastructure at your primary site, but also at the secondary site. And often that infrastructure stays underutilized because you only use it during a disaster or a disaster test. The result is a lot of cost and a lot of maintenance that a customer has to deal with. On slide 13, you can look at some of the alternatives, which include cloud-hosted disaster recovery. And while this may sound like a good alternative, it involves leasing hot standby or warm standby infrastructure. That means all of the gear that you need to recover. And oftentimes you might be paying $5,000 to $8,000 per month in dedicated fees just to recover 50 virtual machines. A more visionary approach would be using the cloud compute. So particularly if you're using CloudArray to store your data in cloud storage, why not use the compute side of cloud storage providers? But in many instances, customers are running VMware environments locally, which may be incompatible with the environment that's the compute environment in the cloud. And oftentimes you have to rely on complex conversion utilities, third-party migration tools, but it makes the orchestration of disaster recovery very risky, very complex, and very time-consuming. So effectively, on one side, you've got a very expensive solution that gives you low utilization, and then on the other side, you have a solution that can often be incompatible and very risky, particularly when you need it in the case of a disaster. So on slide 14, you see the TwinStrata solution that we're launching today. And it gives you all of the elements of cloud as a disaster recovery solution, which means you have a cloud-based location that's not permanent. You never have to pay for it until you need it. It also spins up cloud-based infrastructure. So again, it's only when you need it. And we give you a full VMware environment that's compatible with your on-site solution. So the result is an affordable, compatible, and on-demand disaster recovery environment. The TwinStrata Cloud Disaster Recovery Service can give you the data and application recovery that's demanded for enterprise solution and reduces your recovery time to hours, but at a fraction of the cost at what you'd have to pay for a traditional cold standby disaster site or a hot standby disaster site. And that's the value that CloudArray DRaaS delivers. On slide 16, you can see what we're launching. We're launching an on-demand disaster recovery as a service for VMware environments that rivals enterprise-class solutions. What we give you is an SLA that guarantees we spin up this disaster recovery infrastructure within 2 to 4 hours of when a disaster happens. And what's more, because it uses CloudArray and it looks like NAS or SAN storage, it's completely non-disruptive to your existing on-premise infrastructure. Slide 17 lists the advantages of TwinStrata. The big one is you get about a 90% cost savings over your traditional hosted disaster solution. And it's included as part of the TwinStrata CloudArray product. So if you have CloudArray, you can activate this. If you want to purchase CloudArray, it really adds no extra cost. And we give you that SLA, we give you 24/7 support without the dedicated infrastructure and 100% compatible environment with your existing infrastructure. On slide 18, it shows you some of the scenarios that you can use, whether you create a replica of your data using tools such as vSphere replication to CloudArray, or slide 19, where you're continuing to use your existing backup software, but you're pushing a copy of the data to CloudArray, and now you can recover it in the cloud, in a cloud compute environment where that data lives in cloud storage with local speed restore times. With CloudArray DRaaS on slide 20, we support multiple cloud environments. We support cloud storage from SoftLayer, Google, Amazon, and Nirvanix. We spin up your cloud compute environment in SoftLayer Cloud Compute, which has very fast peering networks to a lot of these cloud storage providers. And we support an operating environment that's VMware-based, essentially a virtualized operating environment. Now, over time, we will roll out additional cloud storage options, compute options, and operating environments. The key aspect of activating this disaster recovery as a service is to sign up for an assessment. And with the assessment, what you get is a TwinStrata professional services representative who does a sizing for you to determine how much space, how much capacity you need in cloud compute. We help document the optimal configuration and recovery process, and then we do an analysis and recovery, an analysis of your recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives. All of this assessment and configuration is stored securely in the CloudArray portal. That means we give you easy retrieval in case of a disaster, and we also give you a process by which you can manage changes to your environment. On the next slide, you see exactly who we target with this offering. Right now, we're ideal for VMware-based organizations, and with recovery objectives, with recovery times on the order of 4 hours to 24 hours. What this gives you is recovery time objectives and recovery point objectives much better and faster than off-site tape restore or online disk backup. In particular, this type of disaster recovery strategy lets a lot of organizations become compliant with their disaster recovery needs. So in summary, what we're introducing today is a host of new features on CloudArray, as well as a new disaster recovery service that can help reduce your dependency or even eliminate the need for backup software. It's all on demand, so it really costs nothing until you need it. The only time you pay for this service is during a disaster or during a disaster test. The rest of the time it's completely on demand, and it's an all-inclusive data storage solution with CloudArray. So it gets you your data storage, you can get you your cloud storage, as well as your disaster recovery strategy all built in. The key here is we're making disaster recovery and business continuity attainable for virtually any organization. And with that, do you have any questions?
Certainly. Thank you, Nicos, for that. One of the arguments I hear about, cloud storage or backup is it's just so hard to move petabytes across the network. How are you able to implement a recovery so quickly? I guess I missed the technology there.
Well, so there's a starting point for utilizing the cloud, and if you have to move a lot of data into the cloud, we offer an import service. So you can bulk import terabytes or even petabytes of data, and that happens a bit more manually, so you have to ship the data over simply because it would take a very long time over the network. Once the data is there, we're only pushing the updates out to the cloud, and typically your updates are not in petabytes or terabytes, they might be in gigabytes per day. So what we're doing is we're pushing the updates very efficiently. We employ data reduction, so we reduce the amount of data that goes over the link, and of course with our bandwidth scheduling, we minimize the impact to your network. Once you need to do a disaster recovery, all of your data is there in the cloud, so your disaster recovery is actually a pretty instant process. It's almost like recovering from your data if you had a copy locally. Well, we help customers so they don't need to use tape anymore. Once they store their backups in cloud storage, we essentially can create a retention policy using our snapshots, or for more traditional customers, they can point their backup software directly to TwinStrata instead of using tapes and keep that retention policy in the cloud.
And then, I was really taken by the notion that you don't pay for this until disaster hits. How does your pricing work? Is it by the bit or by an instance, or how does it work?
Well, we have two subscription models for purchasing CloudArray. Mm-hmm. So you can purchase it with cloud storage, in which case we charge you by the gigabyte, and the cost there starts at 19 cents per gigabyte per month. It includes all of the software, all of the cloud storage, to a triple replicated cloud storage provider. You can also purchase what we call the bring your own cloud model, where you just purchase a subscription to our software, and then that's by the instance. So you can purchase that subscription and then connect to your choice of 25 different cloud providers, and you can use one or many providers in that case. Once you're signed up for a TwinStrata subscription service, disaster recovery is essentially included.
That's terrific. So kind of a wrap up here, Nicos. We have Obamacare laws coming into effect in the next year or so, and the HIPAA requirements are saying you have to have this kind of data retention policy, right? And by law, do you think this technology will come to play there?
This is absolutely a great use case for this technology, because a lot of mid-market organizations, a lot of organizations that don't have the wherewithal to deploy a disaster recovery plan across multiple data centers, they may not have multiple data centers, are going to have to be in compliance with these regulations. And what we do is we give them a disaster plan that gives them recovery times in a matter of hours. They can get their whole business back up and running with a very small outage, even if a major disaster happens. And we've seen these types of disasters, whether it's Hurricane Sandy, whether it's natural disasters or other, outages do happen. And this gives businesses a very easy way to recover, a very cost-effective way to recover, but it gives them the same type of enterprise-class recovery plan that the larger companies, larger corporations have.
Well, that's terrific. Well, Nicos, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show today.
Okay, thank you for having me, Rich.
You bet. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of big data.